Hi, I'm Jenny Rushmore of Cashmere, and today I'm going to take you through the skill of hemming. Now, hemming is something that you really need to learn even as a beginner sewer because you're going to be doing it on all your garments. So today I'm going to show you how to do a simple hem on a woven garment and on a knit garment. So let's get on with it. So the first thing we're going to do for this garment is turn it up by 1/4 inch. So it's exactly the same as what we did for the sleeves. So I am going to eyeball it. You can either eyeball it or measure it or do a line of sewing at that 1/4 inch. And sometimes that's actually the easiest thing to do. The only thing about if you do that is there is a small chance that your stitching will show, in which case you want to make sure that you're using very similar color thread. Okay, when you come to do the second side, you can actually just follow the first side, assuming that your front and back are the same lengths. If they're not, then that won't work. Okay, so what I tend to do is I tend to do the middles out first, and then I do the ends because it's a little bit more difficult. So then I open it up and I put it flat. Make sure the seam allowance is facing the same way that it was originally sewn, and then you can turn it up across the end. Now sometimes your hem doesn't perfectly meet at the edges, and that's okay. You can just even it out there. A little bit of steam helps there. Okay, now I'm going to do the other side. Okay, now we've done this 1/4 inch, but now we're going to turn it up by 3/4 inch. So this is a bigger hem, and this is more typical for skirts. So I'm once again going to use my ruler to measure 3/4 up. So there are, again, all kinds of different ways to do this. I'm just going to pin it there, and then I'm going to measure up 3/4 there and pin there, just to give myself some waypoints for doing this. But there are lots of different ways that you can mark that for yourself. So now I am just going to press that 3/4 inch up. If you are doing pins, watch out that you don't have plastic head pins, or if you do, make sure you don't hit the plastic heads or you will be melting them. Okay, so I've done the one side. Now I'm going to do the other side. And this time I am, again, because I know the front and back are going to be the same length, I am just going to use the existing edge. And you want to make sure the first 1/4 that you turned under remains turned under. Okay, now again, I'm going to go to the ends. Now I'm going to go around the other side. Okay, so it's got a little messy here, so I'm going to re-press in that first 1/4 inch. And this sometimes happens because other layers can get trapped behind. So sometimes you need to go in and repress. Okay. Now we need to pin that down to make sure that it doesn't shift around while you are sewing. And ideally you want to pin from the right side. So much as with sleeve hems, you do have the option to use clips, or you can use Wonder tape, which is the double-sided dissolvable tape. Now I'm showing you here how to machine sew the hem, but you do actually have another alternative. So a machine sewn hem is, pretty common, you see it a lot. But if you're making something that's a little bit more refined, it's nice to not have visible stitching on the right side, in which case you can do slip stitching by hand on the other side. For that, you can check out my separate video. That's at cashmere.com/slip stitching. The other thing you can technically do is a blind hem, but I'm telling you right now, blind hems are very confusing. I do know how to do them, although I feel like I have to relearn every single time because there's a certain interesting origami. So as a beginner, definitely not what you would be starting with, but maybe one day you will get there. Okay, so the skirt is pressed up. It's pinned, so now we're going to sew it. So as before, you want to hem just a little bit less than what you folded it up by. So in this case, I folded up the hem by 3/4 of an inch. So I am going to sew it at 5/8 of an inch. And then that should ensure that I capture it all the way around. One thing you can do if you want to give yourself even more visual guidance is use a bit of tape like this. So washi tape works, painter's tape, masking tape, any kind of semi-permanent tape. Temporary tape, not semi-permanent. And what you do is you line it up where you want the hem to be on your machine. And it makes it very easy to just visually see, especially if you're doing thicker hems where you don't have any reference here, it can be particularly helpful. So I'm gonna place my thing here, start, and just go all the way around. And there you go. So I checked on the back that I caught the hem all the way around, and I did. I gave it a good press from the wrong side, press from the right side, and there it is, your lovely hem. So what we're going to do is turn over the hem to the wrong side by 3/4 of an inch. So I am going to just measure. Now, one of the fun things, if you use a stripe, is you can actually then use the stripe, assuming you cut it evenly, which we did, you can use the stripe as a guide. So that's 3/4 of an inch. So I am just going to follow along this stripe. And what I do is I just do it to about 1 inch from the end initially. And go along here, I'm going to do the same thing, just pressing it along this stripe. If you haven't cut it evenly, then you can't do this. Okay. And now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to remeasure it just to make sure it's right. Okay, so we're going to be going here. And you want to make sure you don't unpress the bottom as you're doing it. This is a slightly thicker knit, and so it's sort of pinging back a little bit, but that's okay. We just need the main crease in there. So I've done the front and the back, so it doesn't matter it's pinging back because it kind of goes back there. And now I'm going to do the side seams. So what I then do is I open it up. The side seams have been pressed towards the back already. And then just kind of join up the front and back pressing here. Okay, I'm going to go on the other side. Again, now let's make sure this is going the right way. So that needs to go towards the back. Press it up. A little bit of steam helps out. There we go. Okay, I set it flat again. And then I just double check. I'm like, okay, does it look all nice? Yes, it does. Another little press. Now, you have an option here. So you can pin this. We're going to be sewing from the right side. So if you're pinning, you want to pin on this side. Or this is a great opportunity to use Wonder Tape, dissolvable hemming tape. So I'm going to use it. So I'll show you how. So basically what I'm going to do is flip this out. The paper's on the top, sticky on the bottom. So I'm just going to stick it to my hem all along. Rip it. Now take the tape off. Sometimes, oh no, that did perfectly. And then literally, you just got to watch out, although I will say you can reposition it fairly easily. Just fold the hem over at the pressing point and seal it down. And then I actually like to quickly repress over it. That helps melt it. And so what's amazing about this now is this is temporarily fixed down. And when we are sewing from the right side, it's so much easier to have this in place because it can't wobble about. So, gonna do it on the other side. You can theoretically just do small amounts of Wonder Tape, but I don't know. I just buy it in bulk, guys, and use it for a lot of things. It's very, very helpful also for inserting zips. So if you watch the sew along of the Elmley dress, I will show you how to use it for that. But anything where you need to temporarily stick something down, and it is more accurate than pins because it's pinning it down in a constant, like the whole way, as opposed to just in occasional places. And then I'm just going to add a little extra bit across here. Okay. Oh, hold on. See, I made a mistake here. The seam allowance, hold on, did I do it the right way? Let me just check. Oh no, it is correct. Okay, it's the upper seam allowance going in the wrong direction. So this is all meant to go in this direction. The reason you should pay attention to that is because if it goes in one direction at the bottom and one direction at the top, the seam allowance will be curling over. And when you wear the garment, it kind of gives it a bit of a bump. So these are the small things that you can pay attention to when you're sewing that will improve the quality of your garment. So again, this is going towards the back. Just going to add a little bit more tape in here. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to the sewing machine and we are going to be sewing this hem from the right side. Okay, so I'm going to put my hem right side up. Now, here's the tricky thing, especially when you're a beginner. You want to catch this edge consistently on the other side, but you can't see it. This is one of the reasons why folding it up very evenly is important, because if it goes in and out, you are going to miss bits. So I can actually feel the edge with my finger here, but because we turned it over 3/4, theoretically, if we just sew just under 3/4, so in this case, I'm gonna go at 5/8, I'm gonna line it up with 5/8, it should work totally fine. So, I'm gonna just do this now. Now it's a good idea to check. So I'm gonna turn it over, and yes, that is catching the edge of my fabric. And just keep on doing it in sections. As you can see, one of the really nice things about using Wonder Tape is you also don't have to pull out any pins. And there you have your hem. So now you just need to press it. So now you know how to hem. If you want to learn more with me, Jenny Rushmore, about how to sew garments, there are a number of different ways you can do that. First, if you haven't already, check out my book, Sewing the Curve, where I take you from everything from how to pick a sewing machine all the way up to sewing a lined dress. And it comes with 6 exclusive patterns, ranging from a simple tunic and skirt and dress through to a skirt, different tops, even a quilted jacket. If you want to see more videos like this and get more tips and tricks for beginners, head to cashmerette.com/learn to sew. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at cashmerette.com/learn to sew newsletter, where I'll regularly be sending you great content when you're learning to sew, as well as special offers.